Daniel Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on a big matchup coming up here in the Big Ten in Week 7 of this 2021 college football season. And it'll be over the Michigan State Spartans and the Indiana Hoosiers. Big matchup for each of these teams, especially Michigan State, now top 10 team heading into this matchup. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today, starting out with your team trends. Michigan State beat Rutgers 31-13 last week, and they're 6-0. I mean, who would have seen that coming out of a Michigan State team that is very young this season? I mean, this is a great sign for the future for the Spartans. I mean, they've got a very young quarterback, very young offense, and they're playing like one of the best teams in the country as of right now. But kind of the opposite for Indiana. I mean, Indiana was expected to be an outstanding team this season, but so far it's been nothing but a disappointment. They are 2-3 right now. I mean, there's so much talent on this Indiana team, but some injuries are very much affecting Indiana right now. But in the end, I mean, Indiana, it's just been a disappointing season without a doubt so far for the Hoosiers. But they are 2-3. They lost to Penn State a couple weeks ago, 24-0. Obviously, Penn State is a talented football team, but it's just a tough situation. You didn't even get a point up on the board against Penn State a couple of weeks ago, and they're also coming off of a bye week last week. Got to keep that in mind as well. So Indiana hopefully is a little more rested up for this matchup. Maybe they can get some of their key players back, but I mean, it's a tough situation right now for the Hoosiers. But for Michigan State, things are going great right now for this team, now in the top 10. I mean, yeah, Michigan State was expected to be potentially the worst team in the Big Ten this season. There were some websites predicting Michigan State, I think, to have trouble getting up to 4 wins, and right now they've already got 6 in the first half of the season. So obviously it's been a great season so far for the Spartans. Game will be on Saturday, October 16th in Bloomington, so the Hoosiers are the home team here, and it'll be at noon Eastern time. So we got a noon kickoff here for Michigan State and Indiana. Spread only has Spartans by 4.5. Your over/under is 48.5. And your ESPN FPI is going Michigan State here, 66.7%. So Spartans are favored, but in a close game according to the spread and the FPI for this matchup. Series history, Michigan State has dominated this series for the majority of the time. 48-17 is the current tally there. So Spartans have had a long history of winning here, but Indiana did win the last matchup in this series. And in the last 10, Michigan State leads it 8-2. So Spartans are or have been better in recent history, although Indiana did win last year's matchup. And overall, I mean, Spartans, if you're looking long-term, has had a much better history in this matchup than Indiana. Stat comparison, Michigan State has got 36 points per game, 19 points allowed, 269 pass yards a game, 217 rush yards a game, which basically all of those rush yards come from Kenneth Walker, their running back, and he has just been nothing short of outstanding so far this season. I mean, he has played very well, and he's been a huge surprise player. No one expected him to play as well as he has, but it's been great for Michigan State, and he's potentially the best running back in the nation. You could argue he is. I mean, Kenneth Walker's nearly got 1,000 yards on the season through 6 games. That's quite an average there. So, but then for yards allowed, 301 pass yards, and then 118 rush yards allowed per game so far this season. So, obviously, that 301 for pass yards allowed is not a good stat. I mean, a number below 200 for the pass yards allowed is a pretty good number, and Michigan State's got 300. So that's definitely a concern there moving forward. But for Indiana, 23 points per game, 28 points allowed, 221 pass yards a game, 122 rush yards, and then for yards allowed, 223 passing, and then 128 rushing. And obviously, Michael Penix, I mean, I expected him to be a top 15 quarterback in the nation this season, but we just have not seen that quite yet. And we've also seen he's been kind of beat up. He's got an injury right now, so he's week to week apparently. It doesn't look like he'll play in this game, but it is still possible. I mean, this is Tuesday when this is being recorded, so we'll have to see what happens there. Recent matchups, October 9th, Michigan State beat Rutgers 31-13, beat Western Kentucky 48-31, beat Nebraska in overtime 23-20, big win over Miami. That's really where this team started to catch notice in the nation, was when they blew out Miami 38-17 on the road, by the way. And they beat Youngstown State 42-14 a few weeks ago. As for the Hoosiers, lost to Penn State there 24-0, beat Western Kentucky by 2, 33-31, lost to Cincinnati by 2 touchdowns. Obviously, Cincinnati is now a top 4. I think they're number 3 now, so they're a talented football team. Blew out Idaho there 56-14, and lost to Iowa 6-34. So just a tough schedule so far for Indiana. I mean, this is a team that's got plenty of talent, but first 5 games have probably been some of the toughest in the nation scheduling-wise for Indiana. I mean, Penn State, they were just number 4 team in the nation. Iowa was just number 3, now they're number 2, by the way, and Cincinnati is the current number 3 team in the nation. So you've played 3 extremely talented football teams there. So who knows? I mean, Indiana, and considering the talent that they've played, who knows? They could potentially play better against Michigan State, especially coming off of a bye week. Here's some key points for this one. Michigan State's got a 6-0 record right now offensively. Definitely one of the best in the Big Ten. Kenneth Walker's already almost 1,000 yards on the season. And then, of course, Peyton Thorne has also been playing solid football. I mean, he was a big surprise as well. No one really knew much about Peyton Thorne, but overall so far this season he's played very well. And Michigan State is a big dark horse contender in the Big Ten as well. I mean, you got Iowa, you got Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State, but no one's really talking about Michigan State. This team is having an outstanding season so far. And, I mean, of course, they're still in it to win the Big Ten East. I mean, this team could go out and shock the Big Ten and win it. And then, of course, you got Ohio State, which is, I mean, they're back on the rise right now. But in Michigan State, this is a very talented football team, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did go out and win their division this season. But as for Indiana, disappointing first 5 games for Indiana, to say the least. Michael Penix is week to week. We'll see what happens there. And rushing defense will need to be ready to have a big game for Indiana if they want to win this game, especially against one of the best running backs in the nation in Kenneth Walker. He is for real. So definitely be on the lookout for that. But let's get to the prediction for this matchup, Michigan State and Indiana. Going to go with the Spartans here, 38-20. So I've got a significant win here for the Spartans by 18 points. I think Spartans should win this game comfortably. I mean, who knows? We could see them completely botch the game this week, and that would be terrible for this football team. But, I mean, Michigan State should win this game by a touchdown or 2. I mean, statistically, Indiana, I mean, they didn't even score a point against Penn State. So, but yeah, Michigan State's offense, I really trust their offense. I think they end up getting it done. 38 points on the board here for this game. Probability is 70% towards the Spartans. So I am pretty confident Michigan State gets the win. They should get the win for sure, but who knows? I mean, it's the 2021 college football season. We've seen some insane upsets, to say the least, so far this season. So who knows? That could change. But Indiana, I do think that they scored 20 points. But, I mean, especially if Michael Penix is out and Tuttle's having to play at quarterback, I just don't see Indiana winning this game. Like, if Michael Penix is in, you've got a chance. But without Michael Penix, I just don't see this team really standing a chance against a very talented Michigan State team. So your over-under is 48.5. I'm taking the over by a significant margin with just about 58 total points. But let me know your thoughts and comments below on this game, and I appreciate you guys all watching. Like always, stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll catch you on the next one.